Guard, our third open forum discussion. Get to chime in. Can somebody mute themselves, please? Where everyone get to chime in with their with different topics of discussion, points of interest, etc. And I want to thank everyone for showing up, and I want to thank those at home for clicking on the video to watch what we got going on. Let's I know we go over this document quite often, and we have went over it quite often, or at least this particular article of the charter. But it's necessary, especially based on the discussion that we had last night. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Good. Let me increase the fonts. I was told that I need to increase it tremendously. There we go. I think
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good, yeah. I was told that on the phone it doesn't really look as it's not as good as when it's on the TV or whatever on a regular screen. So what is this? This is Article 73 of the United Nations Charter. It's important for us to remember Article 73. Why? Let me read over it so we'll see why. Members of the United Nations. So who are the members of the United Nations? The United States. See, there's many others, but who do we care about? The United States. Why? Because the United States is in our jurisdiction practicing extraterritoriality, right? In which there's already a bill on the president's table or desk collecting dust since 1956, a bill enacted by the legislators, the House of Representatives, for the president to sign whenever he seems or deems the time appropriate to relinquish extraterritorial jurisdiction in Morocco. And we know that we're in Morocco. So as far as the members of the United Nations, the only people we care about is the United States, because they are pending relinquishment of extraterritorial jurisdiction in our land. And when is the time necessary? When is the time appropriate? When our state governments come online and through legislation, we tell him that it's appropriate now for you to pick up that pen and sign that bill, ratify that bill so that it can become law, so that now you may begin the process of relinquishing your extraterritoriality in Morocco. Now, obviously, it depends on how we go about it. Are we going about it as the United States of Morocco or as individual states? If we're going as individual states, then they would only relinquish it in our respective territories, i.e., the trust territory of Georgia, Pennsylvania, or should I say Indiana, Oregon, and Colorado. But if we do it as the United States of Morocco, then they would have to do it across all of Morocco, right? So it just depends on which way we go about it. But either way, the time is appropriate when we tell them that the time is appropriate based on our legislation that comes through our three branches of government. So members, or the United States, as members of the United Nations, which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories, right? They administer in our territory. What do they administer? Legislation, laws, right? Whose peoples have not yet attained full measures of self-government. So we hadn't yet attained a full measure of self-government up until now. And we're still going through our various stages of advancement, right? Recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount. So our interests in our territories are paramount. And what's paramount? It's like of the highest regard. And accept as a sacred trust the obligation to promote to the utmost within the system of international peace and security established by the present charter, the well-being of the inhabitants of these territories, and to this end, A, to ensure, with due respect for the culture of the peoples concerned, their political, so they have to adhere to our politics, our laws, our governments. They have to adhere to it, as well as our economic, social, and educational advancement, which all that falls under statehood. Their just treatment and their protection against abuses. It's not allowed for them to abuse us, especially not as Moroccan nationals of a Moroccan state. B, this is the one, most important one. Well, maybe not the most important, but it's very pertinent, to develop self-government, to take due account of the political aspirations of the peoples. We have political aspirations. That's why we established AMPAG and New Mecca and AMPAG and Meru, and to assist them in the progressive development of their free political institution. So they have to assist us in the progressive development of our free political institutions, according to the particular circumstances of each territory. So each territory would have their own particular circumstances. And then according to those circumstances, they have to what? Adhere to it and assist us as we go through it. And its peoples in their varying stages of advancement. So we're going through our various stages or varying stages of advancement. So when you fill out an application and you check off, excuse me, the semantic term, this is a semantic term, US citizen, it doesn't denationalize you. It would not by any means bring you back into the territory, or should I say the jurisdiction of the United States, right? You have to, just a simple application is not gonna do that. It's not gonna just change your status like that. I don't know how many Moors, ipso jure Moor subjects have filled out applications and put on there that they're white. That doesn't change their fact. I know that for a fact, for an absolute fact, because I thought I was white. I had everything changed to white according to the R.B. Bay publication process. Yeah, well, when I got jammed up, guess what was on the documents? Black. Okay. C, to further international peace and security, and then D, to promote, D, to promote constructive measures of development, to encourage research and to cooperate with one another. So we have to cooperate with one another. And when and where appropriate, with specialized international bodies with a view to the practical achievement of the social, economic, and scientific purposes set forth in this article. And E, to transmit regularly to the Secretary General for information purposes, subject to such limitations as security and constitutional considerations may require statistical and other information of a technical nature relating to economic, social, and educational conditions in the territories for which they are respectively responsible, other than those territories to which chapters 12 and 13 apply. So we have to transmit regularly to the Secretary General for information purposes. So everything that's taking place with the United States, good, bad, or indifferent, we shall or should transmit to the United Nations. Definitely, if it's a case where they're continuously violating our rights or attempting to violate our rights, that definitely has to be transmitted, because what we're doing with that is building a case against them. So now when we go to the ICJ, the United Nations themselves would have on the record the excuse me, the evidence of their belligerent activities. So this article in part B in particular, to a degree, does justice in explaining why we have no concerns in terms of checking off US citizen on an application. Keeping in mind, what is a US citizen? U.S.citizen as it relates to a application form of any sort. What does that mean? Where does it say that U.S. means United States citizens? We also got to keep in mind that a U.S. citizen, the United States, does not have human beings. So when they say civiliter mortuus is only relating to Black people being dead in the eyes of law, that's not true, because everybody is a civiliter mortuus: white, Black, Chinese, Korean, anyone who comes into the U.S. jurisdiction, the American jurisdiction, the cares of the world, they get reduced from being human persons, right? Human beings, breathing people. They get reduced to being corporations. So a U.S. citizen is a corporation, and a corporation is a U.S. citizen, and a U.S. citizen is a person. Semantics, same words. It's all the same. They could say goat. So you check off United States citizen. What does U.S. mean? We can identify that. We can determine and define the terms and words that we see fit within our jurisdiction. We have to remember that we're home. We have, so the visas and the legal resident card, the green cards, those are reserved for foreigners, i.e., a Korean. They come to the United States to become a legal resident, because you first got to go through the process of becoming, you first got to be a legal resident, and then after so many years, then you can go and apply for your citizenship. So you'll first be a legal resident, and as a legal resident, you'll get a green card. And when you go fill out an application for a job, your E-Verify will come up. Will come up, right? The E-Verify will be the main gatekeeper. That process is a gatekeeper process to identify if you have the authorization to work in the United States. And you got to type in a phone, not a phone number, the ID number that represents your green card. And once you do that, boom, it comes up good, you get the job, right? But that's because Korea is foreign to the United States, and Korea is coming into the jurisdiction of the United States. Whereas Moroccans, we are home. If anyone needs a green card, would be the United States and their citizens. So it doesn't make sense, excuse me, it doesn't make sense for us to engage the United States in any way, shape, form, or fashion so that they set up a system for us to be able to operate within their system as foreigners, because we're not foreigners. We're foreign to the United States, but we're not foreign to the land. And the United States is where? In our land. What is that? Morocco. Therefore, if they are foreign to Morocco and they exist and operate within the jurisdiction of Morocco, that means then that Moroccan law supersedes the United States laws and all their processes. Does that make sense to anyone? I'm not finished, but so far, does that make sense to everybody? Are we on the same page so far? Anyone can chime in and say something. Are we on the same page so far?
And keep in mind, they laws were just applicable to United States citizens or Americans.
Say it again, brother. Their law is what?
Apply to Americans, those
right.
who are within their jurisdiction.
Exactly. It applies to them. That doesn't apply to other Moroccans. But the thing is, though, how do we, as foreign Moroccan nationals on our own land, operating and dealing with extraterritoriality, Whereas now they have taken over the system and have, well, should I say, corrupted the system. They took it away. They took over the system and they corrupted the system, right? So now we have to operate in a certain way in conformity with that system so that we're able to do what? Partake in commerce. So that we can do what? Feed our families, our well-being, etc. Well, what is the key factor here? The key factor is your shell company, your LLC, your corporation, i.e., your strawman name, your all caps, your nom de guerre, which is not you. So as the good brother Jay Bay would explain on all his study sessions, he used a specific name to make the point clear. Kendrick Johnson versus Kendrick Bay. So Kendrick Johnson is the dead corpse, the corporation, the LLC. Kendrick Bay is the natural breathing human person who gives life to Kendrick Johnson. Kendrick Bay is who signs on behalf of Kendrick Johnson. No different than Jeff Bezos with Amazon. No different than Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. So your corporation, your Kendrick Johnson, your birth certificate name is your key. Look at it as a key. What is that key for? The key is so that you may come and go in and out of the matrix. There's two worlds in operation. You got the matrix, that's the American jurisdiction. That's the matrix is where you'll find commerce. The matrix is where you would find banking, employment, CDLs, businesses, etc. Commerce as a whole, commerce in general. And then you got the real world. What is the real world? What jurisdiction is the real world? Morocco, AMPAG, AMPAC, New Mecca, Meru. That's the real world. So you got to be able to plug into the matrix and unplug from the matrix if you're thinking about Neo, right? Neo and the gang, in order to go into the matrix, they had to plug into the matrix. In order to get out of the matrix, they had to unplug from the matrix. Well, the medium that's being used in the matrix is this machine that gets plugged into the back of your head. Well, in our reality, that would be your nom de guerre name. It's a key. Who is controlling the key is the question. Is the United States controlling the key? Or is Kendrick Bay controlling the key? Well, up until the time that you became a national, when you was an ipso Joe Morris subject, the United States was controlling the key. And you were stuck in the matrix. You couldn't come in and out of the matrix because you didn't have another jurisdiction to go to. The Rock of Salvation, the 101s, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Article 15, Treaty of Madrid, choose between the entire submissions of the laws of the empire. So now when you become a national and you fall under the, where is it at? The protected persons list, now, and you brought your corporation, your LLC, into the national trust of the state. In that activity, in that process, you have taken control of that key. Now you have the control of the key to where now you can open the door to the matrix, go to enter into the matrix. That is banking, employment, etc. And you can also come back into the real world with that same key. If that makes any sense. Is this making any sense to anyone?
Is
Okay, so Article 8, consular officers shall transmit each year to the authorities of the district in which they reside a list bearing their seal of the persons protected by them. Right? So that's what we're providing the United States is a list of protected persons. But the United States does not recognize Kendrick Bay. They don't know who Kendrick Bay is. The only thing they know about is Kendrick Johnson. So we send them Kendrick Johnson's name with his social and his or her date of birth. Because those three items is how they identify Kendrick Johnson, keeping in mind that the date of birth and the social security numbers is similar to what you would call a routing and accounting number that gives you access or gives them access to the global trust. When you were an ipso mori subject. But now that you have taken control of it, you have access to it. And that's a whole other story. Also keeping in mind that the ultimate goal here is forcing decolonization, economic liberty without any inequality. So because the system is set up as it is, and we're going through our various stages of advancement before achieving economic liberty without any inequality, we still got to be able to maintain commerce. And you do that through your strawman name. But your strawman name has to be under protection, i.e. Article 8 of the Treaty of Madrid. So it says consular officers shall transmit each year to the authorities of the district in which they reside a list bearing their seal of the persons protected by them. These authorities shall transmit it to the Minister of Foreign Affairs to the end that if it be not comfortable to the regulations, what is regulations? Legislation. The representatives at Tangiers may be informed of the fact. A consular officer shall be required, excuse me, you all, I'm getting over a cold here. A consular officer shall be required to give immediate information of any changes that may have taken place among the persons protected by his consulate. Right? So you're being taken out of this dead status, U.S. citizen dead status, because Kendrick Bay at one point was considered dead, period. But he's now alive because he's part of a Morris state government and he has a new appellation. But it doesn't change the fact that Kendrick Johnson is still a fiction, a transmitting utility to transmit benefits, the benefits that you may receive from the corporation. Also, keeping in mind that a natural breathing person cannot interface with a corporation. That's where your LLC comes into play. This is where your corporation comes into play. This is where your former Moroccan subject name comes into play. This is where your nom de guerre, your strawman name comes into play. It interfaces with corporations on your behalf. You're just putting Kendrick Johnson to work for your benefit. But first, he has to be that name, that all caps name needs to be on a protected person's list. So that now the United States cannot adjudicate against the Moroccan subject, the former Moroccan subject name, or your nom de guerre. They have no jurisdiction over it. Yet, you have the authority to utilize it for commercial purposes. And it doesn't matter which box you check. It doesn't change the fact that it's a corporation. If you check citizen, it's still a U.S. That's what a U.S. citizen is a corporation. And the Department of Homeland Security, in any other department, has no authority or ability to reclassify you. That would be going against international law. And the natural breathing Kendrick Bay is not relinquishing or reclassifying himself by simply checking a box that says U.S. citizen. That could say GOAT. Okay, let's take away the term U.S. citizen. And let's say GOAT. Okay, fine, I'm a GOAT. Well, what does our legislation say? How does our legislation define those terms? GOAT. Okay, well, in our legislation, because when there's a concern, since there appears to be a concern, we need to enact legislation to settle that matter. So part of the verbiage or the content within the legislation would define U.S. citizen, would define GOAT. Whatever word they may have put there is irrelevant. We don't care about what the United States is doing. All we care about is the power of Moroccan law and Moroccan legislation. We have to recognize, what's his name? Luke. What's his name? Luke. What's the brother name from Star Wars? That Yoda was training. I forget his name. Luke Skywalker. There we go. Luke Skywalker was unable to beat what's his name? Darth Vader. Why was he unable to beat Darth Vader in the first battle where he got his hand cut off? Because he didn't fully know himself yet. He was still in fear. There was still a sense of fear. He had some courage to step to him, but there was a sense of fear that was interfering with his ability to beat him. Got his hand cut off. Yoda told him, I told you weren't ready because you still have fear in you. You don't know your power yet. Well, when he settled that matter, meaning he had to go within to find himself, and he faced Darth Vader the second time, what did he do? Chopped his head off. Neo did not become the one till he got out of his own way, till he got out of his own head. He was dealing with fear. He saw that tall building. I mean, I can't jump over that. I can't dodge bullets. What was it that caused him to realize his true potential when he was faced with adversity and he didn't have time to think? So when Agent Smith came at him with the other two guys, with the other two agents, right? When he got shot and all that, and he thought he died. Remember, he started dodging bullets and stopping bullets. He didn't even dodge the bullet. He stopped the bullet. And he jumped in Agent Smith. He couldn't even jump over a building because he was so afraid of himself, afraid of what he didn't know about himself. So now that he doesn't have the ability or the time to think, now he's able to jump in Agent Smith and just blow him up that way. Crazy. That's the power of the power. That's the power of knowing thyself. I say all that to say, as Moroccans, we have to know the power that we have from within our state, based on our international laws and our Morris treaties, based on our consanguinity. So we have to know that the power of our legislation supersedes and trumps anything that the United States come with. The United States have no authority or power over us. We have the authority and the power over them. We have to be like Luke Skywalker when he chopped Darth Vader's head off. We have to be like Neo when he jumped inside Agent Smith. Meaning, we have to come to our own and understanding, overstanding, and outerstanding that we are the ultimate authority. We are the ultimate power here. And so checking off some damn US citizen or GOAT or whatever word they want to put on there makes no difference for our Moroccan nationality and our advancement within this society and our ability to partake in commerce without accepting the jurisdiction. We have to, that's the other thing. We have to get out of the old mindset about accepting jurisdiction. You cannot accept the jurisdiction. Don't say travel or don't say drive, say travel and all these semantic words. That's irrelevant to a Moroccan state. Because once you're now a Moroccan state and you're a Moroccan national of the Moroccan state, you cannot, there's no accepting any jurisdiction. That's reserved for Moorish American processes, sovereign citizen processes. You got to be careful not to say certain things, because if you do, you fall under the jurisdiction of the United States. We don't have to worry about semantics, because under no circumstances will we fall under the jurisdiction of the United States. How can I prove that? If any of the citizens of the United States or any persons under their protection, so the citizen of the United States is everybody else, and a person that's under their protection are Moorish subjects or Black people, shall have any dispute with each other, the consul shall decide between the parties, and whenever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decision, it shall be immediately granted to him. Meaning, if there's ever any dispute with anybody from the United States and their citizens and their protected persons, it's our courts who decide the matter. Like, we have to recognize our power. Nothing goes through their Supreme Court. Nothing. They signed on to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. They exist in the in Morocco because of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And in Article 20 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is telling you, where there's beef, it gets settled with consular court. Simple. We can't allow fear to seep in. We cannot allow misconceptions, old times, to seep into our state. We have to remain steadfast in our. Go ahead.
I would like to know. I'm trying to start. My name is. This is Lazakiah Bay.
Islam, brother.
Yes. Yes. I would like to know about starting up a business. I'm trying to start up a studio type business for marketing and advertisement. And I would like to know how the trust works as far as putting a business underneath the government trust.
Okay. We'll hold that question for a little bit later, brother. It's way off the topic what we're talking about right now, but we'll definitely touch on it. Just hold on to that question and ask it a little bit later, okay? Islam?
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Islam, brother. Islam, and I know you're good brother Shin Bey's son. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Islam. He told me you were supposed to call me. You never did, but it's all good. We'll speak on that. Where was I? Lost my train of thought.
No problem.
Everything
you talking about the treaty?
National
Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Yeah, I was making a point with that. Bottom line is, no matter what, we have to get out of our head. We got to get out of our way. We've got to get out of fear. There's only two emotions that's available in this movement. There's only two emotions that's available in this movement. What are those two emotions? Fear or concern. This movement has no place for fear. We got to know what we're doing. Fear only happens when you're not sure about what it is that we're doing. And in order to know what you're doing, you have to study. You have to study these laws, these treaties, because it's in there. It settles and dissipates your fear when you understand the routes that you can take. So again, if the Department of Homeland Security has a problem with a national, where does the matter get settled? Somebody answer that, please.
Consular court.
Consular court.
Consular court. If the Supreme Court has a problem with the with a national, where does that get settled? Consular court. Anything dealing with the United States or anyone or any of its organs or if it has a problem with a Moroccan national, it gets settled through consular court, meaning that we have the last say. Therefore, there's no place for fear, only concern. Concern is understood. Let's settle that. Let's settle concern. Let me blow this one up. That's too much. That's too much. Okay, this might be good, I hope. What does Article 120 says of the Act of Algeciras? General provisions, the provincials. The general provincial provisions, Article 120, with a view to harmonizing its legislation if the occasion arises with the engagements contracted under the present General Act, each of the signatory powers engages to take the necessary steps leading to the enactment of such legislation as may be necessary so far as it is concerned. In other words, if you have a concern, write legislation to deal with that concern. So either you're dealing with fear or you're dealing with concern. If you're dealing with fear, that means that you're not studying. If you're dealing with concerns, then that means you need to write legislation. So if we have any concerns, any type of concern as it relates to checking the US citizen box, write legislation to settle that so that no longer there's any concerns. And then within that legislation, we're going to say that U.S. citizen, the U.S. means United Sovereigns, Universal Sovereigns, Universal Science, whatever. We define what the hell it means. They don't tell us what it means. When are we going to get out of the mindset of subjugation and inferiority and step into the world of authority? That's the mindset we must carry, is the mindset of authority. We say that the US means universal science, whatever. If the term was GOAT, fine, I'm a GOAT. So then we define it as the greatest of all time. We define it through legislation. And through legislation, we say, if we check the box United States citizen, it means, not only does it mean United Sovereigns, but also it does not relinquish or take away our national status. That's it. And you keep on rolling. We don't have to engage the United States to establish some sort of visa or green card or anything like that to allow us to partake in commerce of any sort. You just tell them what to do. You check the boxes according to the system and how it is, and you keep it moving. We're not reclassifying ourselves, and they know there is no authority in the United States or department within the United States that can reclassify us. And if they attempt to do so, the matter gets settled in consular court. What does Article 123 say? So right here it says, if there's any concern, enact legislation. Article 120. So that settles that. Article 123. And last, all treaties, conventions, I actually should have started with Article 105, but that's fine. All treaties, conventions, and arrangements, okay, of the signatory powers with Morocco remain in force. What are the arrangements? All the treaties, conventions, etc. Like it says, all treaties, and treaties come first, then conventions and arrangements. Arrangements is all different forms of legislations as well. Our Constitution is an arrangement. All treaties, conventions, and arrangements of the signatory powers with Morocco remain in force. It is understood, however, that in case of conflict between their provisions and those of the General Act, the stipulations of the latter shall prevail. So the Act of Algeciras prevailed over all treaties, conventions, and arrangements. You have to remember that. Let's go up to Article 105. What does Article 105 say? With a view to assuring the application of the principle of economic liberty without any inequality, the signatory powers declare that none of the public services in the Sharifian Empire can be alienated for the advantage of private interests. So what are the public services? The public services is the three branches of government, which now brings together the public utilities and the public works, like what it says in 106. In case the Sharifian government should invoke the aid of foreign capital or foreign industry for the working of public services or for the operation of public works. What is public works? Kendrick Johnson is a public works. Roads, railways, ports, telegraphs, and other public works, the signatory powers reserve to themselves the right to see to it that the authority of the state over these great enterprises of general interest remains entire. In other words, they can't even go against our public works, which in this case, based on the discussion, represents your nom de guerre. So your nom de guerre represents your public works as well as public utilities. It's a transmitting utility in which the benefits transmit to you. It's in the treaties. But we just got to understand the words and how it relates to each circumstance. So the public works is not limited to roads and railways and such, construction of highways and things of that nature. Your public works is also your nom de guerre. It's the public works. It's what you use to, okay, here's another example. I think we're familiar with this dude. This brother's name is Yusuf Il, high frequency radio or high frequency whatever. And he teaches UCC processes. And he's constantly harping on private versus public. You want to be private, you don't want to be public, right? Well, Kendrick Bay exists in the private world. Kendrick Johnson exists in the public world. That's why it's the public works. It allows you public commercial, should I say, public commercial activities. The other, which is the real one, Kendrick Bay, is in its private capacity as a national. So that's why the whole UCC thing is BS, because it doesn't come with a state. The true aspect of being a private citizen, so-called citizen, or being in the private sector is through your state as a national, not being within the United States, but then finding a loophole to be a private person within the United States, utilizing the UCCs as a medium. That's nonsensical. Does it work? It works until it doesn't work anymore. You're still a more subject. It doesn't matter how many trusts you establish, how many UCCs you use, you're still a Moorish subject. So that's your public works. And it must remain entire. And it's always according to what? Your legislation. Let's read it again. In case the Sharifian government should invoke the aid of foreign capital or foreign industry for the working of public services, or for the operation of public works, roads, railways, ports, telegraphs, and other public works, and other public works, was the other public works, your nom de guerre. The signatory powers reserve to themselves the right to see to it that the authority of the state over these great enterprises of general interest remains entire. They can go against that. Another reference point real quick, so we can, before I open the floor. I'm almost finished, you guys. Go back to the Treaty of Peace. I'm just skipping back, I'm skipping around. If any differences shall arise by either party infringing on any of the articles on this treaty, peace and harmony shall remain notwithstanding. So that means we can't go to war with them, and they can't go to war with us in the fullest force until a friendly application shall be made for an arrangement. Where do we see that? Where do we see that term? Article 120? Is that where we saw it? Arrangement, no, it wasn't Article 120. It was, I guess it was 105 and 106. Then I just read arrangement. With a view to ensure application and principles. I thought I seen it in one of these. But an arrangement, I did see it. Didn't we just go?
I think it was in 123, wasn't it?
That's what it was, 123. I know I seen it. So it is arrangements. 123, you're right. Arrangements. Go back to where I was. So it says, if any differences shall arise by either party infringing on any of the articles of this treaty, peace and harmony shall remain notwithstanding in the fullest force until a friendly application. What is a friendly application? Legislation is a friendly application. Your constitution is a friendly application, right? Enacting laws is a friendly application, shall be made for an arrangement. And until that application shall be rejected, no appeal shall be made to arms. We can go to war. No appeal should be made to arms, shall be made to arms. However, a friendly application must be established for the arrangement. What is the friendly application? Your legislation. So if you have an issue or a concern with anything, in this case, checking the box, US citizen, well, put together a friendly application to deal with that. Which goes back again to Article 120, where there's any concern, write legislation with a view to harmonizing this legislation if the occasion arises with the engagements contracted under the present General Act. Each of the signatory powers excuse me, engages to take the necessary steps leading to the enactment of such legislation as may be necessary so far as it is concerned. They're all basically saying the same thing. We have to remember, where there's any type of concern, enact legislations to settle that matter. Where there's fear, you need to grab a treaty and start reading and start studying. We should not be dealing with fear. The fear only comes from misconceptions. The fear only comes from misinformation. The fear only comes from not knowing. Fear, F-E-A-R, false expectations appearing as real. Meaning, you don't know what you don't know. So fear seeps in, not to mention the way the United States likes to bring down the hammer on folks. It induces fear. But that fear also comes from a mindset of subjugation and conquest, misinformation, misconcepts. We are all riddled with misconcepts and misinformation from the old paradigm. We have to let go of it. You fill out the application as Kendrick Johnson. Kendrick Johnson, you check him off as a US citizen. You sign it as Kendrick Johnson. You turn in the daggone document, application, and wait for the phone call. You get called in. HR tells you to fill out some more paperwork. You fill out the paperwork as Kendrick Johnson. You check off United States citizen or US citizen as Kendrick Johnson. You don't tell HR anything. You leave HR alone because HR don't know nothing. HR are just regular people who don't know nothing, who've been also lied to. You're not dealing with Joe Biden or any of these high-level politicians. So why bother HR? Fill out the boxes, check the boxes, fill out the application, sign it as Kendrick Johnson, keep it moving. There's no need. You don't even have to reserve your rights. Just fill it out and keep it moving. The same way you would do things before you knew about your Moroccan nationality and became a national is the same way you will continue to do the same damn thing, except now it's under a protected person status. Which means that you have control over that key. Now you're holding on to the key. What key? Kendrick Johnson, which allows you to enter and exit the matrix at will. I think I made the point clear. I hope I did. I yield the floor for any further discussions, questions, or concern. Islam.
Islam. This is Lazakai Bay.
Islam, good brother.
I'm not gonna go back to the other discussion, but right now, I'm considering how the process of the name works. Yanam Nagir.
Yes, sir.
So the name that I went by in the United States Corporation, United States of America, that name, once I become a national to Morocco and subject to AMPAG, the paperwork done to prove that Lazakai Bey is the holder or the owner of Luke, that name, is that once I have my card, will that card represent as proof that I am the owner of the name that was associated with the U.S.?
It may, but ultimately, good brother, your name will that name, which is not you, that Namdagir name will appear on the protected persons list. So in that protected persons list gets sent off to the United States. And so from that perspective, okay, brother Hakeem, give me 1 second. And from that perspective, that's the proof. However, and I hope I'm answering your question if I clearly understand your question. However, on our state ID, you'll see here, if you can see this, let me try to increase it, I suppose. Can y'all see this better?
Yes, I see it.
So you see the name Empress Jane Doe Bay, and then the X-Rail Jane Doe. So Empress Jane Doe Bay has control over Jane Doe based on an ex-relation or ex-relationship.
Okay.
And so you have taken control of that corporation, also keeping in mind that's your property. That belongs to you. So national trust within the state, your that all caps name is transferred into the national trust for further protection and under your control. It becomes the owner of the name would be the national trust, or i.e. the state. You have control over it though, as the Moroccan national. If that answers your question.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Islam, good brother. Go ahead, brother Hakeem.
Islam. No, I was gonna point that out, what you just mentioned regarding the card, the X relation, meaning you have the right to speak on behalf of or to bring information about the name of the X relation. So
Correct.
it just in case anybody try to say, well, it says here on your ID that you're Kendrick Kendrick Johnson. No, I can speak on behalf of Kendrick Johnson, but I'm not Kendrick Johnson.
Correct.
Right? So that's all I was going to point out.
Thank you, brother. Excellent. Anyone else got any questions or concerns in regards to this topic? So we got to remember, we have to keep in mind, and we have to remember, and we have to come to terms with the fact and the truth that we are the sovereign authority. We are home. They are here in our home. I remind you what Malcolm X, Il Malik Shabazz said. We did not land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And so therefore, since Plymouth Rock landed on us, they came over here to exist within our land under a protected status through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. We dictate what takes place in Morocco, not them. Not the Department of Homeland Security, not the FBI, not the CIA, not the ETF, none of the Alphabet Boys, none of their corporations or organizations or corporate states of, none of that. Moroccan law supersedes it all. Let's make that point more clear, in case it's not. I hate it when this thing does that. Come on, come with me, work with me here. There it is. Let's make this point a little bit more clear. Let's look and see, let's remind ourselves what the judges said of the ICJ. Page 202. 177. Let's see what the ICJ said. Which we already know what they said because we've been over this before, but redundancy is great. Redundancy serves the purpose. Redundancy drives the point home. So let's see, Article 102, or should I say page 202. I'm sorry if I'm flipping the screen too fast on you all, but I'm trying to get to it real quick.
For those that don't know what ICJ is, that's the International Court of Justice.
Exactly. The International Court of Justice. All right.
Can I explain this right quick before you get to it, Wazir?
Say it again, brother. You might need to something.
Islam, can you?
Not as well. Say something again. Say it again.
Hold on for 1 second. I'll come back. Let me get off this earpiece.
Okay. Don't forget your point. All right. In the absence of any treaty provisions dealing with this matter, it has been contended that a right of assent can be based on customs, usage, or practice. It is unnecessary to repeat the reasons which have been given for rejecting customs, usage, and practice. See, the United States tried to stand on customs and usage by saying that we require the right of assent, or they required, or they had the authority of the right of assent, meaning we have to ask them permission to do stuff, whether it be to return back to Morocco or enact legislation against them, right? So the ICJ basically, the judges basically rejected that notion. That's why I say it is not. That's why they say it is unnecessary to repeat the reasons which have been given for rejecting customs, usage, and practice as a basis for extended consular jurisdiction, and which are largely applicable to the right of assent. It is, however, necessary to point out that the very large number of instances in which Moroccan laws were referred to the United States authorities can readily be explained as a convenient way of ensuring their incorporation in ministerial decrees binding upon the consular courts. In that way, and in that way only, could these laws be made enforceable as against United States nationals so long as the extended consular jurisdiction was being exercised. There's only in one way, it's through consular court. And therefore, what this is basically saying is that as long as we're exercising uh, uh, a consular jurisdiction, we can enforce Moroccan laws against the United States. How do you establish your consular jurisdiction? Through your three branches of government, or your third branch of government, which is what? Your judicial branch. And your judicial branch got all types of power and authority over the United States through their what? Ministerial decrees. What are ministerial decrees? Judgments, orders, and opinions. Judicial judgment, orders, and opinions that come from consular court. And in that way only, no UCCs, no nothing else. Consular court, and consular court can only exist through your state, and your state can only exist with a ratified, deposited, and promulgated constitution. In that way, and in that way only, can we exercise our power and authority over the United States and their citizens and their protected persons, i.e. Moorish subjects. Article 102 of the Treaty of the Act of Algeciras. Article 102, what does it say? Every confiscation, fine, or penalty, confiscation means jail time, must be imposed on foreigners who are foreigners, United States citizens, and the United States by consular jurisdiction, and on Moorish subjects by Sharifian jurisdiction through consular jurisdiction. That's where the International Court of Justice got their opinion from. We have the power through consular court. Let's not forget that. Go ahead, brother. Brother Watson, you back?
Islam, I'm back. What I was going to try to explain was this. Can you hear me pretty good now?
Yeah, we hear you real good.
All right, excellent. Think of it this way, for those who are just coming in and start learning. The government itself is a artificial entity, right? We're talking about the United States here, because they are acting as a corporation, and they are what? An international organization. And as such, they can only interact with other artificial beings. So look at it like this. You played Monopoly before. They got a horse, a car, a wheelbarrow. Those are just pieces that are used in a game. But you are not the piece. You can move the piece, but you are not that piece. So your name is basically doing business as Kendrick Johnson in the corporate arena, but you're not subject to I say commercial laws, if you will, or to their jurisdiction. You're just using it as a piece to move in the world of commerce, if that makes sense. But you would not be held liable for using that piece to play the game, because they set it up that way when they instituted the United States Corporation in 1871. They went away from being a non-corporate government to a corporate government. And as such, we had to make moves in order to operate within their whim, but they didn't want to, basically they didn't want to tell anybody. That's where the UCCs come into play, Uniform Commercial Code. That limits your jurisdiction. And that's what they was trying to do, is limit our liability. When we have unlimited liability as a non-corporate government, that's Elodium, Morris, Palladium, Anti-Georgia. And we're staying away from corporate, because corporate, you got what? Privileges given to you by the creator, which is the government. We got unlimited inalienable rights given to us by Allah. So that name, that all cap name, is just a tool to use in the world of commerce, but it is not you. Just like that piece in a Monopoly game that you use to move around the board, but the piece is not you. Just remember that. Peace.
Excellent analogy, Brother Ali, Grand Sheik. Excellent analogy. That's exactly what it is. It's just a piece that you're moving around the board of commerce, which is Monopoly. That's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. I couldn't say it any better, brother.
It's on, brother. Anybody got any questions? Please ask questions. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
There's no such thing as a wrong question.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. We family. We trying to teach, man. That's the only way this movement is gonna move. One person don't need to know everything. Everybody needs to know the same thing. Islam.
This is Lazakai Bay.
Yes, sir.
I would like to know about the monthly payments.
It's dues, monthly dues ain't but $20 or whatever else you can bear beyond that.
All right, I would like to know what is the goal?
The monthly dues, the purpose of the monthly dues is to maintain um the minimal government operations, such as making sure that the rent is paid for the office and any other miscellaneous things that may come up that needs to get done, that we need to pay for. You know, you gotta, when you're operating the government, you gotta pay for certain things. It's not the dues, it's not for the purpose of economic empowerment of the state. The dues is simply to keep us above water as we're going through our various stages of advancement, as we continue checking these boxes to finally reach the ultimate goal. What is the ultimate goal? Economic liberty without any inequality, which is decolonization as a whole. What is the time frame looking like? Give it about 18 months and this thing is all over with. In the meantime, we still got to be able to pay the rent for our office space, amongst other expenses that we incur on a monthly basis. So that's what the dues are for.
All right, thank you. It's like a maintenance thing.
It's a maintenance,
temporary maintenance.
Temporary maintenance till we reach the level,
Right.
till we reach the point that we all signed up for, which is the forced decolonization. I got to make that point clear. We're here to force decolonization and establish our economic liberty without any inequality, which means what? Revenue from what? The taxes that's owed to us. We're not supposed to be the ones paying taxes. They're the ones who are supposed to be paying taxes. So what we're working on is the changing of the guard. You will hear Tajiri Bey speak on the change of the guard. There's a changing of the guard taking place behind the scenes. But see, it's being spoken of from the perspective of some other entity out here that's working against the United States to change the guard. No, the changing of the guard can only begin and end with Moroccans and Moroccan governments. And that's what's taking place right now. Currently, we have a fourth state, sister state that has come online. That will be Maru State Republic. Brother Akil, are you on?
Peace, yeah, I'm on.
Islam.
So the good brother Akil Bey, he's the wazir for Maru State Republic. Could you speak on the state briefly, real quick, good brother?
Islam, yeah, peace. We just sent our documentation in, established ourselves as a state government, replacing the so-called state of Indiana. So again, we're a growing government in which that we're learning from not only the United Nations, but we have to get familiar with the uncomfortable questions, the uncomfortable conversations that this lying ahead of us, just as any other government. So learning from each other, being close with each other, and really it's all about raising the confidence, because the knowledge is already there. It's already within you. It's really just the misinformation that we have to unclutter, like Abdul Bey said. So it's really just, again, electing yourself, therefore we can elect others, and really standing on that to the point that we can be able to teach each other, and no longer just kind of feel that we have to stay in the background, So not just, if I can compare this on different levels, if you will, real estate, or it's certain jobs that some of us coming up, we have may seen that, is out of reach, so-called, just because we weren't taught about these type of jobs. right? But
Mhm.
it's the same thing in this standpoint as to say statehood it'll make you seem like, okay, it has to be a certain fashion. It always kind of seems like you're doing something wrong, even when you on point. But that's a part of the trick bag, as far as exactly what Abdul was saying. It's the confidence. That's that inner part that ain't no law gonna tell you about necessarily. But that's where you gotta step in, as far as, okay, I am the law necessarily. We are the people. We are the law, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's the unhidden side that nobody but you can realize. So it's really about the confidence. We have nothing but support around us. The 4 more state governments that's online right now, nothing but support and help all around us. So again, the knowledge is in you. We I'm all every day, all day, all for calls, any type of an exchange or anything. I'm open. So I just want to put that on the table.
Yeah,
But yeah, I yield the floor with that. I don't want to take up too much time.
Islam, good brother. Appreciate the words. Yeah, so that's the fifth, that's the 4th state. We've got another one working on theirs. That would be in out of Texas, Dempsey. Um, so we're making moves. What are we making moves towards? This document right here. This is a decolonization document. This is the Act of Algeciras. Before I continue, good brother Lazakai, did I answer your question?
Sir?
Did I answer your question? The
As
question that you
far
had
as
about
as far as the
the dues.
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
you did. Islam. I'm 20 years old, by the way, and I would like an opportunity to work with Brother Hakeem Bey with as far as technology and the the graphic side of everything. I understand that he's making the IDs and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I have skill as far as videography, marketing, and graphic design with vector applications.
Islam. Brother Hakeem, you want to answer that?
Islam. So yeah, that'd be great. I'm currently in the process of drafting a bill in order to establish that government publishing office, um, and hopefully by then we would have worked on something, but we'll be able to um, like put all our skills together um, in a more official capacity at that point. Um, right now, it's just whatever little projects come up. If you're available, we could talk about that and let's see what we can do.
Islam. I think I have your email. EQ Studios. At some point, I think I've emailed you. So yeah, I'll send you another email in regards to this meeting.
Islam, I got you.
Islam.
So did you guys notice the language that good brother Hakeem Bey used? This is not normal in the Moorish movement. This is not the typical. See, Prophet Noble Jew Ali say you change the people's literature, you change the people. Your vernacular has to change. What did good brother Hakeem just say? He's in the process of drafting a bill. How many Moors talk like that? How many NBCs talk like that? Drafting bills. What we're talking about, what we would have said based on the old paradigm is, I'm writing up a writ or an affidavit to send off to the colonizers. And no, the key is legislation. We just went over it. If there's any concerns, write legislation. If you want to deal with the colonizers accordingly, write legislation. Send them judicial orders from consular court. And in that way, and in that way only, there isn't a million or 100 ways to skin this cat. Like I've said in previous discussions, there's only one way to assemble anything. It comes with instructions. You want to assemble a car? There's only one instruction. You want to assemble playground? There's ain't but one instruction. You want to establish a state government in conformity with international law and fall under the protections of international law and Morris treaties? There's only one way to do it. And that's through a ratified, deposited, and promulgated constitution that establishes your three branches of government. What are the three branches? The holy trifecta. What is that? The legislative branch, the judicial branch, and the executive branch. That goes along with the triple principles: sovereignty and independence, integrity of domain, economic liberty without any inequality. That's Dorothy clicking her heels 3 times to return back home. So to go further about the dues and the difference between it being a maintenance thing versus our economic liberty based on decolonization, I draw your attention to chapter 5, or should I say chapter 4, a declaration concerning better return of taxes and the creation of new revenues. It's in the Act of Algeciras. As soon as the tertib shall have been put into regular operation with regard to Moorish subjects, the representatives of the powers at Tangier shall subject their citizens, subjects, and proteges in the empire to the application thereof. So Moorish subjects got to pay taxes. And citizens. But it is understood that this tax shall not be applied to foreign subjects except under the conditions stipulated by the regulation of the diplomatic body at Tangier on November 24th, 1903. So some people are exempt from it, but not everybody. The consular authorities shall retain a certain percentage of the receipt of the taxes they collect from the subject of their jurisdiction to cover the cost of tax bills and collection. The rate of such percentage shall be fixed by mutual agreement between the Moxen and the diplomatic body at Tangier. 60. In accordance with the right granted by Article 11 of the Madrid Convention, foreigners shall have the right to acquire property throughout the Sharifian Empire, and His Majesty the Sultan shall issue to his administrative and judicial officers such instructions as may be necessary for them not to refuse the registration of deeds without lawful cause. Subsequent transfers, either by deeds between living parties or by death, shall continue without hindrance. In the ports open to commerce and within a radius of 10 kilometers around such ports, His Majesty the Sultan, generally and without it being necessary, henceforth for foreign subjects to obtain a special permission for each purchase of property, now grants the consent required by Article 11 of the Madrid Convention. They have to get permission. They have to get permission. And they have to pay taxes. I can continue on. Let me see. Wherever foreigners may have acquired property, they will be permitted to erect buildings in compliance with regulations and usage. So they've been erecting a whole bunch of buildings since 1906. But if the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is dissolved, that means that they would have to leave, right? So if they leave, can they take these buildings with them? No, it stays right here in Morocco. You can't take the building with you. That's why they're not going to want to, they're going to want to enter into negotiations. That's a lot of money they leaving on the table. Before authorizing the execution of deeds for transferring property, the Qadi, which is the tax deed assessor, will have to satisfy himself of the validity of the title in conformity to what? Mohammedan law. Our law supersedes everything. The Moxen shall designate in each city and district specified in this article the Qadi, who shall have charge of such verification. So we got to have a Qadi in place in each one of our states and territories that can deal with that matter, which is the verification of the deeds. This is what this is saying. I mean, with a view to creating new resources for the Moxen, the conference recognizes in principle that a tax may be established on city buildings. What is a city building? The Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the Falcon Stadium, whatever skyscraper you see out here in Atlanta, all these buildings, they got to pay taxes on these buildings. So not only do we have all the authority in Morocco, but we got all the wealth in Morocco. We have to understand these things. We have to become Luke Skywalker when he chopped off Darth Vader's head. We have to become Neo when he jumped inside of Agent Smith. In other words, shed away all the fear and the misinformation and misconceptions and come into your own. What is coming into your own? Well, first of all, knowing thyself, knowing that you are the Moroccan, you are in Morocco, and you have authority over all foreign entities or citizens that resides in Morocco. Period. What else did it say here? The taxes due from the Moorish or foreign owner without distinction, but the tenant or the holder of the keys shall be responsible to the Moorish treasury. They're responsible to the Moorish treasury. This right here is where we get the money. This is economic liberty without any inequality. And in order to make that happen, we have to take the United States to the International Court of Justice, beat their behinds over there. And now their back is to the wall. They have to now adhere to these laws. If, as the result of the collection of such taxes from Moorish subjects, see, Moorish subjects got to pay taxes. The diplomatic body at Tangier should deem it advisable to extend the same to those under foreign jurisdiction. It is hereby specified that the said taxes shall be exclusively municipal. What do you want me to say? It's all right here. A maximum transfer tax of 2% on sales of real estate. They got to pay us 2% on sales of on the transfer taxes for the sales of real estate. You know how much money that is just with this alone? Just with this alone. You know how much money that is that we will be bringing into the state? That comes into the National Trust, and then the National Trust is divided 60-40, 60 to the state, 40% to the nationals, divided equally amongst all the nationals. Are you kidding me? What else are we here for? This is what we're here for. This is why we assist other Moorish state governments for free, because the end game is this right here. A maximum transfer tax of 2% on sales of real estate. So the ulterior motives is to get money, no doubt, but who are we getting the money from? The colonizers, not our own people. We're not package sellers over here trying to get a couple of dollars to pay our rent and our bills and such from our own people, and then the process don't even work, and you stop answering the phone calls. This is the end game. This is the end game. Merchandise of foreign origin shall temporarily be subject to, on entry into Morocco, to special taxes amounting to 2.5% ad valorem. It's in here. You just got to enact it. It's all in here, y'all. Chickpeas, 20%. Corn, 20%. Barley, 50%. Wheat, 34%. Come on, man. So what we're doing is what hasn't been taught over a long period of time. The Act of Algeciras has been out since 1906. This is 2002. The Prophet was around during 1906. The Prophet said, "Children, you are plainly rich." He must have read Act of Algeciras. This is the money right here. The special fund will be deposited with the State Bank of Morocco, which is to keep its accounts. So the State Bank of Morocco, right? So if you go up a few articles, a few chapters, I think it's chapter 3. What does chapter 3 say? Where is chapter 3? Here comes chapter 3. Give me a second. What's the title to chapter 3? This is chapter 3 right here. Act of concession for a state bank. Article 31. A bank shall be established in Morocco under the name of the State Bank of Morocco. How many of us even knew this? How many?
I didn't know.
Our teachers never taught us this stuff, i.e. punitive damages, sellouts, the Moorish American Society of Philadelphia. But it took the good brother J. Jermaine Bay to come in, Justice J. Jermaine Bay to come in and make us aware of these treaties. And you see Moorish, let me do something. Let's try this. Control F, right? If I were to type control, if I were to do Control F and I type in there Moorish, it tells me that Moorish is in here 41 times. The term Moorish is in there 41 times. Why? Because it's a Moorish treaty. And aren't we Moors? Isn't the term Moorish American carry on the term Moorish, except you're not American? So why are we not adhering to these documents that are based in our consanguinity? We wrote those documents. This document is detrimental to Jacob. Jacob don't like this document. Jacob has been trying his best to keep us asleep from recognizing ourselves in these documents to then turn around and use it against them. Who is Jacob? The same group of people who is attacking Ye and Kyrie. Jews. Because keep in mind, they're all the ones that's behind everything. Killers move in silence. Go ahead, good brother.
I'm about to say, this is the reason why, you know, they try to keep us Negro, Black, and colored and American. So, because the contract is in the name of Moorish Moroccans, the reefing.
Exactly.
So they had to make us Negro, Black, and colored just so they can keep doing what they doing to us.
Exactly. Exactly. And see what's happening with Ye and the good brother Kyrie is because they're what? Moorish subjects. The Anti-Defamation League and any other legislation out here only apply to subjects, citizens and such. Doesn't apply to no national, not a Moroccan national. So they cannot come at any Moroccan national with no ideas of anti-Semitic anything. Man, you better go on to your subjects, because that don't apply over here. So I could say Jew. I could defame the term Jew. I wouldn't do that because it's not about that. We're here dealing with diplomatic relations. But if I wanted to, I could. You can't do nothing about it. Keeping in mind that we are the original Jews. But that's irrelevant. That's not even a nationality. That's a religion. We've had all three of the religions. The three main religions come from us. Christianity, the Roman Catholic Church, or should I say the Roman, what was that called, y'all? The Roman, what was that called? What was that?
Catholicism?
Huh?
Well, Catholicism?
No. What did they call the black popes back in Europe? The Holy Roman Empire. That's what I'm trying to say. The Holy Roman Empire was composed of Moors. Judaism was created by Moors. Christianity and Islam. It's a lot of it, and most of it, or basically all of it, has been corrupted. But it all comes from us. There was a time in Andalusia where the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims walked the same streets, and you couldn't identify one from the other. Because we all had the same customs, we had the same style, we had the same swag, we had the same everything. We just had 3 different religions that we may have practiced at the time. That's why AMPAG does not discriminate any form of religion. You do whatever you want, as long as there's not anything that deals with attacking, or should I say, going against human rights, just cogence, Satanism, and baby eating religions. That has no place here. But outside of that, you can be whatever you want to be. A Seventh-day Baptist, go for it. You want to be a Muslim, go for it. Whatever. You got the right to self-determination. But all that stuff was established by our ancestors. Jacob doesn't want Esau to maintain or to come back into power. Jacob want to keep Esau away from the pen. But the clock of destiny is ticking away, and their time is running out. Esau will get back the pen. Esau will get back control of the empire. And Jacob going to have to sit down somewhere and figure out another legislation. Figure out something else to do. But as long as the Moroccans are here in Morocco enacting legislation through their 3 branches of government, Jacob is done. This is the Armageddon that they've been worried about. This is the end of the world that they've been worried about. It's the end of their world. It's the end of their rule. It's the end of their conquest. It's the end of their oppression. Because all of it has been happening against Esau, against the Moroccans. If that make any sense to anyone, go ahead, good brother Hakeem.
Islam. On that note, I just wanted to add that Moors need to start thinking what kind of world they want to create, because as each state start to come on board, they literally have the power to create whatever form of government they want as a collective, exercising their self-determination, as long as it's based on Moorish science principles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we really got to think about what it is that we want to create. We don't have to recreate what the Europeans have. We know how that worked, and we know that in the end, a handful of people are going to have economic power over everything. We don't have to recreate that, and the way we create our world is through our legislation, right? But we have to make sure that whatever it is we create, it remains within competent hands. There has to be some sort of process to weed out incompetence, greedy people, all sorts of characteristics that you don't want to hold power. There has to be some sort of process to weed out those bad elements within the human psyche. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, think about what it is you want to create. Try to break that down into different steps and write legislations for each step. Another thing that is going to be necessary, especially in this stage, at least for AMPAG, is thinking of everything that's in this document, thinking of the structure behind it. It's one thing to read the document and see that it says having a state bank. How is that bank going to be structured, right? What's going to be the policies regarding that bank? Somebody has to come up with that. Somebody has to write that. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yes. Let me clarify something real quick. As you study that particular chapter, chapter 3, it does give you it gives you the A to Z rundown on how it needs to be structured. You still need someone to enact legislation and put things together in conformity with it, but it's already laid out based on chapter 3. We still got to put it together, but it's laid out. So it's not even, in other words, we don't have to burn up brain cells trying to figure out how to establish. We just got to examine that particular chapter and put it together based on that examination.
Islam. So the structuring I was thinking of is essentially what I did with the Moorish rudder and sexton, kind of went through it line by line and think of how this looks visually so I could structure it so that anyone who's never read the rudder and sexton can easily look at the visual and be able to interpret how this body politic is set up and who has what authority where. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, eventually everybody's gonna have to get to a point where they know uh, who's in charge of what, how the thing's set up, and what powers are invested in which areas. Um, However, I don't expect, like, let's say, a generation down the line for people to have to refer back to that. Um, they have to have something in place already. You get what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying. That's where the first few states, that's one key factor in the first few states coming online, is to have mechanisms in place for those who have taken over in the next few years. For example, the Wazir only has a 5-year term, max 15 with re-election, etc. So let's say the Wazir has been in office for 15 years because he's been reelected he was reelected two additional times. That's 5, 5, and 5. His job, just as well as every other branch or every other position, is to leave behind something that the new Wazir can come in and basically carry it forward without having to do too much extra, right? That's where the first couple of states come in, is to have everything in place for those who coming in. Also, in addition to that, I like to add, just like the United States used to do, when you turn 18, you had to join the military, right? Well, everyone should be required to do 5 years in the state, right? Whether you like it or not, because that knowledge needs to be transferred to everyone that's in the state. So that way now, going forward, we lessen the risk of losing what we've created. We don't want to find ourselves in this place again. And in order to keep that from happening, we all need to be erudite in matters dealing with government and politics, if that make any sense. And I also want to correct something real quick. Yes, Moorish governments can do Moors can come in and establish their governments as they see fit, but there's still a limit. In other words, it's all about modern states. In other words, what I'm saying is you can't come in now trying to establish a monarchy. Monarchies that's not the way to go. Part of the reason why the empire went fractured is because of monarchy. What do I mean by that? Well, when in 19, I think it was 1902 or 1904, when it's in that book, The Passing of the Sharifian Empire. one of the sultans passed away and his son took over. His son was I don't think he was 22 yet. He was about 22 years old. He wasn't ready for the throne. And he was engaging in lots of belligerent acts and doing stupid things like constructing railways inside of the palace and gold cameras. This is in this book. Gold cameras and all these other things. Blowing money unnecessarily to the point where the government had to petition Spain and Great Britain for loans. This is what fractured it, because now they became dependent on European loans. And that's where France ended up having to come in to assist the Sultan in that matter, and they signed the Treaty of Fez and gave the power of the pen to France. And then France went around punking everybody, right? And they in that particular treaty, this allowed the Sultan from accepting any further loans. So France had to settle that matter on behalf of the Sultan. And then obviously we know what happened in 1956. The Sultan stepped down to become a king, and then in France and the Sultan, they basically left the pen in a neutral status because he's no longer the Sultan. And in doing so, because of that, France was willing to step back, left the pen there. The United States picked it up, but that pen was supposed to go to the Moroccan governments. But my point is that based on the structure of a monarchy, they're not elected by the people. It's based on consanguinity. Whoever is next up based on the bloodline. And whoever is next up could be an 18-year-old without any knowledge of anything. He just happened to be 18. He just happened to be the son of the Sultan, and now he's the Sultan now. That caused a problem. Whereas the modern state, the way it's set up, you get elected by the people, which means you have to have some sort of a track record because you got to run your campaigns, right? And then people get to decide who is the most capable or the most competent authority or official to be able to carry the government forward. So a modern state is a more appropriate way to go about doing things in this day and age. Because remember, when we went to sleep, the whole world has moved along, continued moving along, and no longer do we have monarchies like that. What we have now are modern states, 3 branches of government, which, by the way, it was established by us. We are the ones who established the 3 branches of government that the United States is using. So when you look at the treaties, the only time they refer to any form of monarchy is when they're referring to His Majesty the Sultan of His Majesty the Sharif, what they call him? His Majesty the Sultan of the Sharifian Empire. That's what they refer to him as. That's the only time you really see anything outside of that. You see Moroccan government, Moorish government, Sharifian authorities, Moxons. These are governments, 3 branches of governments. And so according to the Act of Algeciras, that's all you see in there. So therefore, we would have to establish our states in conformity with that, which is a modern state with 3 branches of government. That's for the people, by the people, that the people decide who is going to be the prime minister, the legislators, and the chief judge. They're all elected officials. If that make any sense. Islam, I yield the floor for any other questions, concerns, or if you wanted to say anything else, Brother Hakeem.
Islam. Yeah, I totally agree. We have to keep in mind the lessons we've learned, though, from this United States of America experiment, right? And that is when people get comfortable, they tend to slack on their duties as citizens.
Islam.
You know, and so in order to avoid recreating the same problems that they have in our government in the future, it, as you mentioned, having some sort of mandatory something, participation, you know what I mean, would be ideal to prevent um, to prevent people from not exercising their rights, for one, but also to make sure the system is kept in check. Because all it would take is for some clever little politicians to get together and conspire to trick an entire generation, and that's it. You know what I mean? Because once they trick that entire generation into not exercising their civil duties, then all of a sudden you get a situation where there's a small group of people holding a whole lot of power.
Correct.
And then people start to look at the government as if the government is God. You know what I mean?
It's indeed, good brother.
But yeah, having some sort of mandatory participation requirement seems reasonable. I recall, now that we're on the subject, I recall some nation that it's illegal not to vote, right? So they don't care who you vote for as long as you vote. But if you don't vote, then you got to answer to somebody.
Right.
You know, so I can't remember what state it is, but worth looking into.
Islam, good brother. And you're absolutely correct about that. What you're talking about really is checks and balances outside of the state to maintain the integrity of the state.
Right.
You know, because without that, then we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes. Also, the proper erudition on law and history is necessary as well, especially history and what the part that we have taken, our part in history. What is it that we have done? We need to understand, how do we end up here? Without that understanding, we're doomed to repeat it again. So it has to do with a lot of erudition, which again goes back to what? The fundamentals, the foundation of your mentals, as the good brother broke down that compound word. It's about knowing thyself. Knowing thyself means that you got to know the good and the bad about yourself and your history and your culture. Right? We have to remember what we've done to them. So that, because with the understanding of what we did to them, as well as the understanding of the power that we currently hold, it takes away the spirit of hate and fear. The reason why Moors are stuck with hate and fear is because we don't know who we are. We don't know what the history is, right? And then not only that, but based on that ignorance, the only reference point that we have is oppression and so-called mistreatment, which fuels the fear and the hate. So now when you come into statehood, what do you want to do? You want to re-enslave them. You want to go to war with them. You want to mistreat them because it's a tit for tat thing, right? It's a vengeful mindset. But that's only because you don't recognize the history of what you actually have done. And then also you don't recognize your power. So if you understand that you did it to them first, they came back and did it to you. But even with that being said, you still got the ultimate power. Then it's easy for you to remain in the spirit of love. It's easy for you to remain in the spirit of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. To then say, okay, you did it to us, we did it to you. Let bygones be bygones. We're even, pay your rent. According to international law and Moroccan law, this is what it is. And you impose it upon them without any need to cause any harm upon them. And you can't do it anyway because it's against international law and just cogence. It's about international peace and security. So you can't come into this with a belligerent mindset going against those very principles of international peace and security, which is the principles of the Treaty on Peace and Friendship. You can't go against that. But in order to in order to secure the proper mindset as it relates to being in the spirit of love, you have to know the history. And you also have to know your power. If you don't know either, this is where belligerence comes in. You know how many Moors in conversation they've told me, and I used to be with the same, I wanted the same smoke. We need to rope them off, on some island and put them back in the caves and all these things. That's based in fear, and it's based in hate. Why fear? Because you fear that they're going to come back and do you harm. Also got to keep in mind that that cycle has to be broken. And there's only one group that can break that cycle. That will be the Moors, the high priest of Anu, whose job for all these millennia was to restore order. But you cannot restore order without the spirit of love. Order comes from love. But out of chaos comes order. But there's got to be love there for you to be able to establish order. When we went into Europe to clean up Europe and establish public baths and establish the seven liberal arts, lights, streets, etc. That movement, that conquest was based in love to uplift fallen humanity. So we've already done it before. We've always done this. We are entrusted to do it again. So it's very important for us to come back into the spirit of love. That's why the prophet kept saying to us, we must learn to love instead of hate. Hate and fear has no place in this movement. Love, you might have concerns, but you want to be in the spirit of love. And when there's any concern, what do? Can someone answer that for me? If anyone has a concern about anything, what do you do based on that concern?
Enact legislation.
Article 120. So there's no need for fear. What's there to be fear? What's there to be fearful for? What's there to be fearful for? When we got Moroccan law in our hands, we got all the power, we got all the authority, and we more than anybody else, we are the grown-ups in the room. So somebody got to be the level-headed one to do things in conformity with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam.
Islam.
That's why the prophet said we got to wake up in love, because a lot of people might have a revengeful attitude toward the Europeans and want to get back at them. And like you just stated, they don't know their history and how things came about to where they are today. You would do something with an ill will intent to try to get back at somebody. Once you got that power in your hand and you want to wield that sword, wisdom speaks from out of the highest plane of spirit life. So we got to be wise in what we're doing. We're not trying to go back and repeat, like you stated before, what they did to us. We can't do that. We got to go back and civilize the world again like we did before. See, the Moors came in being the first civilization. That's why the keys and hands was still in the hands of the Moors, us.
Period.
But now we know that our mindset has to change to be upright, fearless, and independent. And the world is waiting on us to wake up, to run our East State.
Exactly.
So we got a mighty obligation here. And we can't go into the world want to try to get back at somebody or another nation for what they did. That means we ain't learned nothing. I want to say something else, but we ain't learned nothing.
Exactly.
Learn from this, my brothers and sisters. We got to learn from this.
and keep love, because that's the country of the world. Love. We debased ourselves from Allah. Now we got to get back in tune with Allah. And when I look at you, I'm looking at Allah. And a
Islam.
man ideal is God now. A man ideal is his God. And so as man unfold, that spirit that in you unfold, your God is going to unfold. So we got to display that God-like character right here on earth. Are you?
Well said, Grand Chief. You know, anyone else? The spirit of love is important. And getting out of this whole fear-based mindset is also important. You know, the old paradigm has fueled fear and hatred. Why? How? Well, because the old paradigm, and I'm talking about the Moorish paradigm, deals with what they've done, what they've done, what they've done, what they've done, and what they're doing. Their laws. It's against us. Their unum sanctum policies. Their intercaterna divina policies. There's Christian black codes, et cetera, that fuels the negativity of fear and anger. Fear and anger. Oh, they set up all these paper bulls to lock us down. The unum sanctum policies, et cetera. And we seeing it in operation. They locking us down. They doing us dirty. They doing us all types of ways. That doesn't help with uplifting fallen humanity from the perspective of love instead of hate. It puts you in a state of hate and fear. Because all you're hearing is the paper bulls, the paper bulls, the unum sanctum policies and what they're doing and how they're doing us. But we're not seeing the solution. Yes, those documents exist, but what's the solution? Now, if we talk about the solution, now we can start shifting the mindset of the people into the spirit of love instead of hate. Because now we're seeing, oh, well, I guess the secret treaty of Verona has no judicial standing according to international law. Furthermore, any and all policies, legislations, laws, etc., I don't care what it is, that comes from any foreign nation has no authority against Moroccan law. That right there kills all forms of fear. Oh, you mean to tell me that Moroccan law supersedes all these paper bulls, all these policies, all these acts, all these forms of legislation? Oh, we good. You see, knowledge of the solution versus just simply harping away at the negativity that's being imposed upon us by the colonizers. How about we focus on the solution, which is Moroccan law? If we focus on the solution, which is Moroccan law, no longer do we have to be worried about their paper bulls or their legislation or their anything. Any form of laws that they may want to enact, it has no judicial standing against Moroccan nationals under a Moroccan state government that's protected by Moroccan law. Fear melts away. Now you have courage. So if there is no fear, then there's courage. If there's no courage, then there's fear. When we talk about oppression, when we talk about all the negative things that the United States have done to the Moorish subjects, let's put things in perspective. Let's keep this thing in mind now. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully. Of all the melanated people on planet Earth, including Africa, I want to ask you all a question, and please, somebody give me an answer. Of all the melanated people on planet Earth, United States, Black Americans, Africans, Brazilians, you name it. Who are the wealthiest? Who are the wealthiest of all the Black people around planet Earth, so-called Blacks? Who are the wealthiest? Can y'all answer that? Can anyone answer that? Okay, I'll answer that for you. Who?
Islam.
Islam, who?
This is Lazakiah Bey.
Yes, sir.
Is your question based off of direct wealth, physical wealth that can be manifested, or natural wealth that is
No.
market?
No. Don't overthink it. It's general wealth. As a moral subject, as a Black person, somebody got a lot of background noise. Yeah, just generally speaking, of all the so-called Asiatic or melanated people on planet Earth, who are the wealthiest, who are the richest people on this planet that are Black, as far as Black people are concerned? Black Americans. Jay-Z is a billionaire. Beyonce
right.
is a billionaire. Diddy is a billionaire. Robert Johnson is a billionaire. Bill Cosby was damn near a billionaire. Michael Jackson was basically a billionaire. And I can go on and on and on. You combine that wealth, man, we got trillions of dollars. What is the point? The point is, it's not so bad for Black people in America. Any Black person in America can go and start a company. They can go get a whatever education and go get a job as a doctor, right? Engineer. There's opportunities here. You can go to school. Are there certain things that impede that process? Yes, but you can still go. You can still undertake the process. For every Black person that may complain about their financial status, there's others who are wealthy, well-to-do. Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey. Just here in Atlanta alone, there's a hell of a whole lot of wealthy Black people. If you get pulled over by the police and you just present your driver's license, your registration, and your insurance, you'll get a ticket or a warning, and they'll have you go on your way. Everybody don't get shot by the police. Everybody don't get killed by the police or tased by the police. It's the smart asses on the side of the road. But if you remain cool, present your driver's license, ID, or your driver's license, insurance, registration, they give you a ticket or a warning, you on your way. They don't have, excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. You on your way, they won't bother you. I don't know how many times I've gotten tickets. I know a lot of Black people that got tickets and they came back alive. Not everybody is Michael Brown.
Wazir.
Yes.
Jim Bay here. That makes me ask a question now.
Yeah.
So does that kind of mean like, okay, so I'm driving truck, right? So if I was in my personal conveyance, I could present my driver license along with my state national ID card together.
No, you just present your driver's license. But eventually you won't even have that to present. You just present your state ID. But your CDL is something different, because your CDL is what's allowing you your commercial activities. Because see, even within the United States, your CDL represents commerce. Am I right or wrong? The license period deals with commerce. That's why Moors try to use these different semantics. I'm traveling, I'm not driving, and so because I'm traveling, I don't require a driver's license because driver's licenses, dang, driver support. My computer going crazy because driver's licenses denote commercial activity. Make sense? But you won't present both your state ID and the driver's license. No, you present one or the other. It depends on how far we have gotten with our paperwork. We're still complete. We're still checking a few boxes to solidify our paperwork. So for now, like for example, me personally, I use a driver's license. I don't even have the state ID yet. No, nobody has their state ID yet. We don't even have our nationality paperwork yet. We're still working on that. But that's not what I'm saying to you is that presenting a driver's license does not subject you to their jurisdiction. Your national status is set in stone. The only way you will lose your nationality is if you were kicked out of the state or the state dissolved somehow and now you're back to being a NAPCA or a Negro black colored or whatever. But as long as our state remain intact, you won't be subjecting yourself to their jurisdiction. There's no need to worry about the semantic terms of conveyance versus vehicle, driving versus traveling. Semantics. Who cares? We identify or we define what it is. We define what driving means. We determine what traveling is. There's no need to be like, oh, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. The old paradigm is stupid in hindsight, but it's going away from my point. The point that I was making is this. When you look at the world and you look at what's taking place in Africa, and it's being done by their own people, by the way, and Jamaica, the poverty that Jamaica is dealing with, Brazil, all the dark-skinned people all around planet Earth are dealing with heavy poverty and heavy oppression. That's not the same for America, for Black Americans. Are Black Americans dealing with poverty as well? Yes, but that's by choice. What the Yay say? Slavery is a choice. If you are stuck in the hood, that simply means that you wasn't willing to do whatever it takes to get out the hood. It's available to you. You can go start a business. You can go get a CDL. But no, you want to remain a career drug dealer. You want to remain in the poverty. See, the problem with Black Americans is laziness. But laziness has nothing to do with oppression. Is it by design? Perhaps. But it doesn't change the fact that others have done it. The opportunity is available. It's up to you to take advantage of the opportunity or not. The point that I'm trying to make is that even with all the so-called oppression and all the problems that they have put us through, you still have an opportunity to overcome. You can build wealth and go move to another country if you wanted to. You're not locked down is the point. No one is locked down. Go ahead.
That's true. That's true, Isaiah. And in conjunction to that, Steve Harvey. I was looking at something today. Steve Harvey, basically said he was slick when he did it. When he said it, he said, "We are more." You know, but the way he said it didn't fit. In other words, if you were savvy, you would catch what he was saying. He's basically saying we are MOOR. He was talking about how just what you're talking about. You know, he talked about the oppression, this, that, and the third, but then he said, but look at us. We mess around and go to college and become doctors and lawyers and all this stuff after all this oppression. And we that people, man. We are that people. We are more.
Right. As long.
Yeah, so he went to name the colleges Morehouse and Spelman and this one and that one. And then he said, we are more. So, but you know, it didn't fit. Like, you know, he just said it like that because he knows.
Right. Many of them know. But we have opportunities. It's up to you to exercise the opportunity. You can go start I'll give you an example. The same good brother that's been assisting us with the state, J. Jermaine Bay. He doesn't have a college education. You'll be surprised. But he was involved in mergers and acquisitions, buying and selling companies. He was involved in the real estate game as an agent, buying and selling buildings. Well, not buying and selling buildings, but assisting his clients to buy and sell buildings as well as residential property. The final stage of his career was assisting his clients in buying and selling businesses. And he did very well for himself based on those opportunities. Do you think it's limited to him? Do you know how many real estate agents I've come across? Commercial real estate? If you sell one, like for example, in mergers and acquisitions, if you sell one company, you get 10% of the value of the company or the sale. So if you sell $1 million company, what's 10% of $1 million? 100,000. You done walked off with $100,000 check, and they didn't care nothing about your color. All they cared about was your competency in assisting me in selling this company, or assisting me in buying this company. Can a Nigerian say that in Nigeria? Can a Brazilian say that in Brazil? So now I must ask, are the colonizers, or should I say the white man, as bad as they've been putting them out there to be, considering that you have those opportunities? See, what Black people were supposed to do is take advantage of those opportunities, pool their money together to then establish their governments and reestablish Morocco. Instead, they have become selfish. So what happens? Like all the rappers say, oh, you leave the hood, you get a great education, and you don't come back to the hood. That's what happened. We go off on our own individual thing and don't worry about the rest of us. We don't have a sense of unity. That's the issue. So then what does that mean? Who is the problem? What is the real problem? Our own, not the white man. Is he guilty of certain things? Yeah, he's guilty of certain things, but it's like not even that big of a deal. Because at the end of the day, it's our own. We're not sticking together. We're not helping each other, and our leaders are selling us out. Give you an example. Adidas has rejected all of they have rejected Ye's contract, dissolved it. Ye no longer has that contract with Adidas. Why? Because Ye has something to say about the Jews or Jacob, right? Okay, so Black people, here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna continue buying Adidas products. What should Black people do though? They should boycott Adidas. They should come together and boycott Adidas, because Adidas is only Adidas because of Black people, starting with who? Run DMC, the Shell Toes, hip hop. Hip hop put Adidas on the map. Jordan put Nike on the map. We put all the brands on the map. We are the ultimate consumers. It's because of us that these corporations excel to the point that they excel. You don't see Jews running around in shell toes. You don't see white people running around and none of this stuff. Especially not the wealthy ones. They be in t-shirts and jeans. It's us who be broke as hell, running around with Prada and Fendi and all the brands in the world. Adidas, Jordans. It's us. We are the enemy. I remind you of the Nas song. You are the slave and the master. What you looking for? You're the question and the answer. It's us. We can just as easily stop shopping with Adidas. And what you think will happen to Adidas? We can literally stop shopping with Adidas and start buying only Yeezy stuff. And just like that, overnight, the power would transfer from Adidas to Ye. But instead, what we're gonna do as a people, leave Ye in the dark and continue shopping with Adidas. I don't know if y'all remember the Gucci thing a couple years ago, where Gucci came out with a turtleneck that had the black face with the big red lips or something on it. It was a big thing on social media. And T.I. came in talking about we need to boycott against them. Yeah, well, how far did that go? People still kept buying Gucci. They still buy Gucci right now. We have no honor. We won't stand our square. So again, who is the enemy here? Is it really the colonizers or the white people? Or is it us? I say the latter. We are the problem. We don't have the moral capacity to boycott them and shut them down on behalf of our own people. No, we would throw our own people under the bus so we can look good in the streets, knowing damn well you're struggling to pay your rent. You want the Chargers. You want the Benzes. You want all the nice cars. Can barely afford it. This is us. We're all about materialism. It's almost as if it soothes our soul from our oppression. Get out of here. You want to soothe your soul from oppression? I'm going to tell you what would make you feel good. Seeing Adidas going bankrupt because of your actions against them, because of their actions against your own. And in doing so, you rebuild your own. What's the other issue? We get $1 into the community, and it circulates probably one time before it's out of the community. We don't allow our finance to circulate within the community 10 times before it leaves. We just spend. We account for over $1 trillion as consumers. Where do we get that money from? If we're so broke and poor and oppressed and messed up as a people. Come on, man, let's keep it real. Let's keep it in its proper perspective. The white man this, the white man that, the white man this, the white man that. No, the black man. It's the black man who blocked us from these treaties. Does the white man have his place? Yes, I'm not taking it away from them. But ultimately, we got the ultimate power. We are the fathers and mothers of civilization. So if we are the mothers and fathers of civilization, what power does our children got over us? Nil, none, zero. The power that they're exercising over us is based on acquiescence. Period. We have acquiesced to them because we're too lazy to do our own. We're too lazy to establish our own. And we know we need our own governments. We know we need our own structure. We know we need our own system. We know we need all this stuff. You see it all through social media. Oh, we need our own government. We need our own this. We need our, okay, well, when the hell are we going to step up and do it then? All we do is talk about it, but we never be about it. Part of the reason is because we lack the knowledge. Understood. The knowledge has been kept from us. Understood. But when the knowledge is presented, what do? We reject it. So it's like, damn it if you do, damn if you don't. I yield the floor before I get a little extra. I yield the floor.
all good. It's all good. All out of love.
Yeah, I know. I get riled up because I get tired of it. The white man is the devil. The white man is the devil. Okay, let me show you how much of a devil the white man is. If I go into Inglewood, California, wearing a blue shirt, I might not make it out of there. Because Inglewood is blood territory. Red. I'm showing up in a blood territory with blue on, and I don't even gangbang. I'm a civilian. But because you see me with blue on, you're just gonna shoot at me. So you're killing me over a color. That's how much of a devil the white man is, huh? That my own people gonna kill me because of a color that I got on. That's how much of a devil the white man is, huh? Let me give you another example. Was it a white man or was it the black man that killed the young brother Takeoff from Amigos or Migos or whatever? Who killed the brother from Migos? Another black man, wasn't it?
Another brother.
Who killed young Dolph? Another black man, wasn't it?
That was his own people, the other guy.
Say it again.
The other guy, Takeoff, that was his own people. He fell down from friendly fire and then got shot up by his ops after that.
Right, but what I mean is though, it was our own.
Right.
It wasn't a white man that went over there and shot no damn Takeoff. It wasn't a white man that shot up young Dolph for going to get some cookies. It wasn't a white man that shot up Nipsey Hussle. It wasn't a white man that shot up Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. Explain that to me. The white man is the devil, huh? No, you the devil.
I hear what you're saying, Wazir, but I just wanted to make maybe a possible correction on King though. I think King, they discovered him getting being suffocated by the doctor in the hospital instead of him passing away by a gunshot wound. They're saying that the sheriff or one of the deputies pulled the trigger on him, but he still wasn't dead until he got suffocated by the doctor, the neurologist in the hospital. They got documentation, etc. on that. So
Islam.
That's the only one. That's the only one that I want to touch
Okay,
on.
let me
I get your point though. I do get your point.
And I get your point, and you're absolutely right. I know that story. So let me make my point a bit clearer. The FBI could hire me to kill J. Jermaine Bay. It's my choice to say yay or nay.
Please say nay.
Of course I would say nay. But my point is, even though the white man can
be... That was a joke.
No, I know. Even though the white man will be behind a lot of these assassinations, it's still the black man who carried it out. Yes, I know it was the Masonic doctors that came in and suffocated him to death and spit on him and said, take that or something like that. Because it was the white man who wanted Martin Luther King dead. But it wasn't the white man who did it, though. They didn't pull the trigger. They hired a black man to do it. And he took the bag and did it. Same thing with Malcolm. Get your hands out my pocket. Here goes the shotguns and all the pistols ringing off at the Audubon, hired by the white man, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. You can say that the white man is the devil, but if the black man carries it out, what does that make him? A bigger devil. Just as well, he's gonna say, hell no, that's Malcolm. What you talking about? They shouldn't be able to hire no black man to do it. They should be limited to their own to do it. Another example, the sellout. The black leader guys have sold us out. Why? Because they've been offered the bag. Just as well, they could have said, "Nah, I ain't doing that. My people got to know the truth, damn it. Even if it means I end up 6 feet deep behind this, my people will know the truth. I am not selling out to you." But what do? They take the bag. So if the white man is the devil for initiating these atrocities, what does that make the black man who carries out the atrocities, man? That's the point.
Yep.
If no black man were to succumb to their request of assassination, sellouts, and all these other things, where would the white man be today? Under our jurisdiction. But because we acquiesce to their demands and their requests for the bag, we are under their jurisdiction. So who's worse? The white man or the black man who keeps selling out? In my opinion, is the damn black man. Just like Kanye said, slavery is a choice. Everything is a choice. Everything is a choice. Article 15, choose between the entire submission. Everything is a choice. You can choose to sell out, or you can choose to remain honorable. We tend to sell out often. We tend to kill off our own. We're twisted, man. We have to hold ourselves accountable if we're going to get this thing right. We have to know who the real culprit is. It's not the colonizers per se. Yes, they have a hand in this, but you wouldn't expect anything else more from the enemy. You expecting more from your own, and they're not giving you more. They're giving you less. That's why we don't even know about the Act of Algeciras. That's why we don't know about the Treaty of Madrid, specifically Article 15. That's why we don't know about any of these things. That's why we don't know the terms Moorish subjects, Moroccan subjects, excuse me, etc. That's why we don't know about the treaties. That's why we don't know about international law. That's why we running around stateless as Negroes, Blacks, and coloreds. We don't know about the Naturalization Act. We don't know about the 1871 Act of Congress where they turned the United States into corporate. We don't know anything, man. All we know about is roots, Amistad, right? African stuff. We came from Africa. Toby versus Kunta Kinte. All we know is KKK lynchings. All we know is marching and praying, we shall overcome. No justice, no peace. That's what we know. What else we know? We know how to gangbang very well. We can set up a gang structure quick. Can't put together a government structure, but we can put together a gang structure real quick. We know how to cook that dope on that stove, don't we? We done got real good. We're chefs. Mixing it up. The baking soda with the crack. We good at all that? Are we good? We're excellent chemists when it comes to crack and heroin. We're excellent chemists. What else we know? We know how to pimp our women. We know how to manipulate our women and put them on the streets and start selling. Right? Rudy Raymore, the Mac, etc. We know how to do that. We've mastered all that. Well, when the hell are we going to master treaties? Statehood, international law, etc.
Islam.
Go ahead, bro.
So regarding the whole situation with sellouts and that topic, aside from the obvious need for, in some people at least, aside from the obvious need for power, fame, finance, or whatever, from what I've observed, especially when I was writing that article about COINTELPRO, the main ones that they seem to get easily as operatives are the ones who lack finances and desperately need it. The ones who are in jail, they're facing serious times. The coward ones that don't want to do the time, those will sell out real quick. But the ones on the outside that have nothing to lose but everything to gain financially, those are the main ones that are, I'd say, more of a problem. All right, because you can look into anybody's criminal history and kind of gauge whether or not they may or may not be an issue. You know what I mean? But yeah, in terms of sellouts, one obvious solution is to not give the Europeans that avenue. So provide working solutions for Moors to resolve their finances or whatever, so they don't have to rely on the European to pay them however much per month just to be an informant. We all know Al Sharpton used to do that when he was younger, chubbier. You know what I mean?
Chubbier, yeah.
He was a snitch, a straight informant.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah, providing working solutions for just about any more that comes in or nationalized with us. They have to have step-by-step procedures on how to go about resolving whatever problems they have with these working solutions, so that the FBI can't then step in and say, hey, if you do XYZ, we'll give you $500 a month. You know?
Yeah. Well,
I was just gonna say, any more that's an AMPAG national, when they hear stuff like that, they have to be laughing in their faces. Like Malcolm X laughed in the FBI's face when they tried to get him to give up information on Elijah Muhammad. You know what I mean?
Islam.
So we can either do that through principles or through having those working solutions in place for people that come in, so they don't have to worry about anything else.
Islam. Great point. And
Islam.
Go ahead, brother.
And just to build on that, even we started with our Constitution, whereas we put us, once we start, what's that principle? Economic liberty without any inequality. When we get to that point, that means we're going to be getting our rents paid, that the colonizers will be paying what they're supposed to be paying. Now, just imagine all these corporations, all these properties that they own, and they're paying 2% here, 6% here, 12% there, and it's going to be increasing as they get used to paying it year after year after year. Within our Constitution, we designed it for success, with our nationals in mind and our government officials in mind, not to just make them rich, but to take away that need for greed. They're going to have that funding. They don't have that need for those pain points. Work hard, pay my rent, can't afford the maintenance on my Mercedes and all that kind of stuff. This is going to be immaterial. Their cigarette lighter and their Mercedes don't work. They buy a new one, buy a new car. Big deal. No,
It's
so it
fine.
won't be any. So they'll have enough funding to do whatever they want to do. And with that in mind, just like the Enlightenment period, where the Moors over there in Europe, they revitalized everything. They clean up all that crap. Well, it's going to happen again. That's what our job is going to be. When I'm 60 years old. When I was a kid, go fishing, the streams used to be clear. I used to be able to play in the country and drink the waters in the streams with my hand. Now everything is polluted. All these chemicals, everything. So our job is going to be to clean up all these industries. And we have the opportunity. I've just used these three as an example. The United States controlled immigration. They carved up the world, divide and conquer, all the Moors, all over. The Haitians can't come here. The Cubans can't come here. The Cubans are isolated. The Asians are isolated. Look how close they are in our proximity of the Florida. Well, we're going to control all the borders. We'll be able to allow, thanks to Castro, he held it down for his people so they can become doctors. Well, and have schools to teach them to be doctors and nurses and dentists and all that kind of stuff. Just imagine and the Mexicans, by default, they've been holding it down in the construction industry here on this land. So imagine I drive around in this truck all around the country, and realistically, 25% of each corporate state is being utilized by cities and stuff. And like 75% of the state is like vast land. That's around the country. Imagine we controlling our land, and we control all the projects, all the construction, because right now the United States they control everything through the GSA, all the government contracts. Just think of it, there's thousands upon thousands, everything. They can control all that. We're going to be controlling all that. We control who gets these contracts, who bids on all these contracts, and our nationals will be like supervisors. Yes, have government services, but we're going to need them. They won't have to be the experts. They just have to be the security guards, as an example, watching over these people that we hire to do these things. And imagine having doctors, well, Mexicans here, I'm using that as an example, here to build hospitals, build buildings, government buildings. And imagine having housing built for when we allow like the Cubans, doctors to come here to work in the hospitals that we built to take care of our Moroccan people. We don't have to pay for these services. We're just training doctors, and they train our young people to be doctors. But we're building the hospitals, we're building the, we're building the places for them to live, the houses, the communities. And as far as like Haiti, I'm sure they got some talents that they have down there, but there won't be any restrictions. We control the borders. We're looking out for our Moors around the world because we can control all that. So I'm just using those as an example. And I'm sure our young folks on the call right now, you can just take this and just run with it, because it's just, it's just so much that we're going to have control of. And if you think about what the United States have been doing with their monies, they with their military, they have to spend so much money on military to control the Moors, to beat them down all around the world. Just think of how much money they wasted. Just imagine we won't have to waste that kind of money. We would just put everything back into restoring things for humanity. So I'm just giving us some ideas how we can dream a little different, because we will have the control. We do have the control. We just have to keep moving forward, and it's going to happen. I end with that. Islam,
I agree. And what you're referring to is chapter 6, the declaration relative to public services and public work. When you're talking about the contracts, you're absolutely correct. According to the Act of Algeciras, chapter 6, we have control over the public services and the public works and all the contracts that we issue to other nationals without any discrimination. So other nationals, Indians, whatever, they can come over here and bid on government contracts. But like you said, GSA and all these other organizations are the ones who have taken our place as the Moroccans who have that authority, and they've been exercising it on us while we've been asleep in acquiescence. So that's why I brought this up. I'm showing articles, chapter 6, a declaration relative to public services and public works, because that's exactly what you were talking about. But I had a calculator up. I hate to, I don't want to go over the, like for example, right here, 110, the contracts shall be awarded in the form and according to the general conditions prescribed by the regulations which the Sharifian government shall draw up with the assistance of the diplomatic body. The contracts shall be awarded by the Sharifian government to the bidder who, while conforming himself to the specifications, shall have submitted the bid fulfilling the most advantageous general conditions. We have the authority, it says it right here, the Sharifian government. We have the authority and the power over these contracts. But since the Negro leaders have put us to sleep, the United States has taken over that position that I'm highlighting here. Article 110. It's not highlighting, it's not remaining, but they have taken over this based on acquiescence. Article 110. Now, to go back to the good brother Hakeem's point, those same subjects that are in poverty, that are taking the pay because of that, that's the point. They don't even realize that they're wealthy beyond their wildest imagination. They don't even realize it. They don't even know. So whatever dollar amount that the FBI or whoever presents to them should be a laughable situation, because it's like, dude, I own you. What are you talking about? You're gonna give me however, whatever $100,000. Where's your taxes? What are you talking about? See, that's supposed to be the mindset, but we're operating based in ignorance. So let's just make a quick example as to the wealth that we possess as a people, right? So I got up here 300,000. What does that 300,000 represent? Okay. This calculation is based in the 2% tax sales that I went over not too long ago, earlier in the call, dealing with the act of Algeciras. 2% sale taxes. Okay. So this is Atlanta. Would you all agree that the average home value is around 300,000? I would say yes. Right? Now, 300,000 doesn't account for skyscrapers, which are worth millions. It doesn't account for industrial buildings that are also worth millions. So 300 is a low ball number. So let's go with 300,000 as an average real estate sale. Let's go with 300,000 as a number for an average real estate sale that takes place in AMPAG's territory or jurisdiction. So everything that gets sold, it gets sold for 300,000. And let's say that the average number of sales that take place per month is, let's say, I don't know, 20,000 a month. Let's say 20,000 a month. Does that sound like too much? That sounds like too low to me. 20,000 transactions per month. Trust me, they account for way more than 20,000 transactions. So 300,000 per sale. What's 300,000 times 20 transactions? Okay. Let's say 20 transactions. 300,000 times, oh, what happened here? Hold up, let me clear this out. Okay, 300,000 times 20, what is going on here? Why is it doing this? Am I doing something wrong here? What is this number here? I'm not working with that number. Why is it not showing me the numbers as it should? Am I doing something wrong, Brother Akeem? 300,000 times 20,000. Okay, 6 million. What's that? 6 million? 6 billion. That's $6 billion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. Three commas. That's $6 billion. Or yeah, $6 billion per month, or however long. Let's say a year, a month, whatever. Now, let's say times 0.02. That's $120 million. So $120 million is what they would owe the Moorish governments every month. $120 million. Now, 120 million times 0.40%. That's equal to $48 million. So why am I saying 40%? Because according to the Constitution, 40% of the revenues go to the nationals and 60% go to the state. So in this case, $48 million go to the nationals, divided by 48 million. What was that?
I was gonna ask, did you say that was monthly or annually?
I'm saying it's monthly.
Islam.
48 million divided by, how many do we have? Let's say 25 nationals. So every month, each national is getting $1.9 million. Each national gets $1.9 million. This is just real estate taxes on the low ass ball number of 300,000. Keeping in mind that $50 million couldn't be the cost of a skyscraper. An average of 300,000 across the board, 20,000 transactions a month is equal to $1.9 million that goes to each one of the nationals every month. Now, would that same national not laugh in the face of an FBI agent who's coming and trying to offer them whatever amount? Keeping in mind that that $1.9 million is reoccurring for the rest of your life every month. Every month for the rest of your life. And it's a lowball number, and it only includes, or it only deals with one revenue stream. We got Habu's property at 6%, et cetera, consumption taxes at 12.5%, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just talking about the real estate taxes. And each one of us will be getting $1.9 million every month based on economic liberty without any inequality when they start paying their taxes. What are we talking about here? This is what the sellout leaders have kept us from, which is now, because remember, these sellout leaders go back to the early 1900s, mid 1900s, et cetera. So it has trickled down, excuse me, to today's generation, right? In which now, not only do they not have any clue about this, but they're also in poverty. So of course they may end up taking a payout. But if they knew about this and they were receiving this, what could the FBI do? What could any alphabet boy do to coerce you into selling your people out based on the fact that you're in poverty? Because you wouldn't be in poverty. And if you knew, and even if you wasn't getting this, but you knew about this, chances are that you would probably forego the BS money that the FBI is offering you to try to acquire this. But this knowledge has been lost. We have no idea about 2% tax payments. Keeping in mind that our Constitution just says 60-40. But your constitution, based on your right to self-determination, you can make your constitution where 60% goes to the nationals and 40% to the state, whatever. In our case, it's 60-40, 60 to the state, 40 to the nationals. Even across the board. This is what economic liberty without any inequality does. This is what decolonization does. Decolonization doesn't mean kick them off the land. Decolonization means put them under your authority and your jurisdiction and your governance. Putting things back where they belong. Back in its proper order, back in its proper place. That is such a low ball number, is ridiculous. It's not even fun. It's like, hold up, let's add an extra zero to that 300,000 because it's actually more than 300,000. But even if it was just 300,000, who's gonna laugh at $1.9 million coming into your account and in the next potentially in the next year and a half? Because we're going to the ICJ in the spring for the new year, the Moorish New Year, which is March 21st.
So, regarding that, we'll need to meet soon, because I'm not sure if I sent you the information from Sister Nova, but we'll need to meet soon to discuss the portal.
Okay, we can do that tomorrow.
Islam.
We'll do that tomorrow. Did I make my point clear here with the power of how wealthy we are? We never had a reason to sell out. The only reason why we had a reason to sell out is because our sellout leaders have put us in a dead status to where we never recognized that we had this available to us. And those sellout leaders that sold out, they didn't sell out for pennies on the dollar. Yes, pennies on the dollars in comparison to what they actually owe us. But these brothers was getting millions. Cleflo Dollar gets millions. TD Jakes gets millions. And a big chunk of it comes from the congregation through tithes and offerings and all this crap. This is the problem. We are the problem. We are the problem, man. You know, there's no way that a people that should be receiving $1.9 million every month should be in any sort of financial strengths, financial problems, poverty. With this kind of money, we should be all that we can be. It would allow us to be all that we can be because it takes out of the equation survival, being in survival mode, having to go get a job that you don't even like, that you're probably not even good at. It don't even resonate with your spirit, but you're doing it because you got to make some kind of money. And so therefore it blocks you away from being and exercising the real you, the real, what you really resonate with, right? You might be a master math teacher that the children would need, but because teachers don't get paid enough, you ended up being some other, you ended up undertaking some other occupation, like let's say you end up being an attorney, and you may not necessarily care to be an attorney. Your real spirit, your heart is with the children in mathematics and teaching them how to be the best mathematicians they could potentially be. But it don't pay well. And I got to get this paper. So let me go be an attorney. That's not being the best you. That's not being all that you can be. But if you got this kind of income coming in, that's based on your consanguinity, your inheritance, you can be at peace. And in that state of mind allows you to bring forth from within that which you was meant to be in the first place. So now suddenly you can easily be a math teacher. You would do it for free because you're already getting 1.9 anyway. Your spirit was to teach the children in the first place. And those kids need you in the first place. But we lost a wonderful master teacher because that industry doesn't pay enough. So instead, I'm gonna go be a lawyer or whatever else. This is what the problem, this is what your Moroccan financial status does. It allows you to be who you really are because you're now in the state of peace because you don't have any concerns about survival because you're getting $1.9 million every damn month. Now, with that being said, with everyone getting that type of money, imagine how many new pyramids, mounds, and all these crazy architectural wonders might pop out of nowhere. Because now we're able to just be in Zen mode, in peace, in harmony with ourselves to now bring forth your highest potential in whatever industry or whatever aspect of humanity that you may want to not uplift, but you know what I mean? Bring wonders to. For example, there's not no 8 wonders of the world. There's like a million, thousands of wonders around the world, especially here in Morocco. We already made that point over there in on the west side of Morocco, Colorado and all that stuff, the Rocky Mountains and all these different buildings that appear to be mountains, but they're not, they're buildings. Abu properties. That's ingenuity. Our ingenuity would now really start to shine because we're no longer locked into the state of survival. Low vibration. We can raise our vibration easily based on our peace and harmony within ourselves because we no longer have any concerns about when is the rent going to get paid and my car is going to get repoed and etc. Having you stuck in survival mode, running around in the rat race. This right here represents the fast lane. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the rat race versus the fast lane. We're stuck in the rat race. We need to be in the fast lane in order for our true potential to shine. Because in the fast lane is where you'll find peace and harmony within yourself to then bring forth the greatest potential that you have within yourself. Islam. So with that said, it's getting late. It's 10:48. I want to go ahead and start shutting it down here. People got to go back to the Bible mode and get to the Job in the morning. But I think this was a great call. I'm going to yield the floor for another couple of minutes for anyone who has something to say, any statement, concern. I yield the floor. Well, all right. It appears as though there's or questions. So great. Call. But I'll end the call by saying we have to be Skywalker. Well, can someone meet their some sort of everybody seems to be muted though. We have to be Luke Skywalker when he chopped off Darth Vader's head, meaning that we have to come into our own. We have to be like Neo when he jumped into Agent Smith and stopped the bullets while just simply putting his hands up. We have to come into our own, fully come into our own, the entire submission of the law. So what did the prophet say? The prophet said that in the year 2000, the Moors will be coming into their own, meaning that they will learn about themselves to the highest degree possible. Because Moorish American is not the highest degree, it's the highest degree within the subjugated Moors, right? The Moorish American identity is the highest degree as a NBC or as a subject. because at least it brings you into the understanding of you being a more. But that's not you coming into your own to the fullest extent of the term. Coming into your own means understanding that you are a Moroccan, understanding that Moroccan laws trumps all other laws, understanding that you are in Morocco, and understanding that you need your 3 branches of government to execute and enact legislation to govern any foreigner that's on your land. And also to know that you have the full authority to do so, the full powers to do so. Also to know that you have all the authority over every foreign citizen on this land. That's coming into your own. So we have to come into our own. We have to shed away the fear. We have to shed away and get rid of the misinformation and the misconceptions. And we have to start studying, understanding and understanding, overstanding and understanding international law, Moorish treaties. That activity allows us to shed the fear and bring forth courage, power. Because now you know thyself. Man, know thyself. Our people perish every day from a lack of knowledge of self. The fundamentals, the foundation of your mentals, the fundamentals of your mindset, your wisdom, the wisdom, wise dome, as the good brother kept breaking down in the previous couple of classes, 77, 76, 78. That was some real stuff right there. Because it's all about the philosophies and ideologies that you carry about yourself, whether it be as an individual or as a nation of people. Every individual thinking along the lines of NBC brings detriment to the nation as a whole. On the other hand, each individual with the higher understanding of themselves bring a higher degree of operation to the nation as a whole. But it all starts with self. That's why it's Islam. I self-law am master. It starts with self. We have to first understand, understand, and overstand who we are, our divinity, our consanguinity, and how it's applied in the physical world. Because see, it's 2 worlds: the spirit realm, which is the unseen, where we all come from, the womb, and the physical world. So as your inner world is, so it shall manifest in the physical world. Right? So fear, if you're dealing with fear in the spirit realm, is going to manifest to be so in the physical world. The spirit realm meaning your thoughts. From your thoughts comes your actions. Your thoughts represent your action in the spirit world, in the physical world. So by consanguinity, you are a Moroccan. But you can't just say that. You have to bring it out of the spirit realm, which is your thoughts about it, and put it on paper. And it becomes so. Same thing with legislation. When there's a concern, what do? You ponder on the issue. You come up with it's still thoughts. It still sits in the spirit realm, which is the thought, your thoughts, right? The unseen world. But then how do you deliver it to the colonizers? How do you deliver it to any foreign citizen? You deliver it by transferring it out of the spirit realm, which is your thoughts, into the physical realm, which is through the pen. The pen is the medium that connects your thought to the thoughts that exist in the spirit realm to what to what you want it to be in the physical realm by putting it on paper. The computer can be the medium. The new pen is the computer. It's about having ink on paper, words on paper, to identify what it is that you believe to be so within you. And luckily for us, we have Moroccan law that allows us to do that without any, what's the word I'm looking for? Without being able to supervene I forgot that term. What's the word when you say when you're impeding someone from doing something? Impediment? Without any impediment. There is no impediment. According to Moroccan law, it is what it is. And it's by that way and that way only through consular court. So it comes out of the abstract and it goes on to paper, and that becomes so. As we say, so shall it be. But not just with words, with your emanating documents, starting with the Constitution. All the words that's in the Constitution, all the words that's in the legislation, all the words that's in any document came from thought, which is the unseen world. And it was manifested by paper into the physical world with the pen. Islam, that's why the power of the pen is so powerful, because whatever you put down on that paper with the proper structure and everything, as Moroccans, it becomes law. And we are the lawgivers. The ills and the bays with their wills and their ways. Islam, with that I yield, and I will close out for the night. Fascinating topics of discussion. I appreciate all those who have attended, and I certainly appreciate those who click on the video to view it from home. For further erudition in matters dealing with international law and statehood, I highly suggest and advise to go through the AMPAG study sessions on YouTube. Excuse me. AMPAG, AMPAC. And it's led by the good brother J. Jermaine Bay, the Chief Judge of Consular Court of AMPAG. There's 78 study sessions. Go through them all. And if it resonates with you, you got the eyes to see and the ears to hear. We are here to assist you in establishing your state governments. All you have to do is reach out, ampagmoxen.org, AMPAGMAKHZEN.org. And we'll assist you with your state governments like we did Maru and we're currently doing with DMT, and it's all for free. Economic liberty without any inequality is the ultimate goal, y'all. Decolonization. With that, I yield, and may the blessings of Allah be upon you all. Peace, love, and light. Islam.
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 Islam, good brothers.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Great class. Great class.